sing?
Well, I was in the same thing.
Okay, roll call of officers. Vice Chairman Brendan Riley.
Here.
Director Dennis Shockner.
Here?
And Director Jim
Johnson.
Johnson. All three of our ladies, directors are not here tonight. They are all excused. And of course, Chairman Parkman is here, so. Okay, let's look at the agenda.
Move to adopt agenda as written.
Any second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approve of the meeting minutes. Our last meeting was November 21st, 2019. We did not have a December meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Jim probably abstained because he wasn't on board.
It's okay. We'll take it for anything. That's what Democrats do, right? Okay, community leader reports. Kern County Sheriff's Office. California Highway Patrol.
Yeah, sure. Oh, there he is. No kidding. That's what they do.
That's it. Kelly Walker, I'm a brand new sergeant over in Mojave area.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. First, actually tell you what I got down in front of me. Over the last month, we've had 2,701 calls for service. 70 of those being traffic collisions, 10 of those being hit and run traffic collisions. We had 14 calls for service regarding animals, those being cows, dogs, and sheep. We responded to, assisted 70 disabled vehicles, and responded and handled 18 reports for abandoned vehicles. During that month, right around Christmas time, we had the closures on I-5, 58, and 14 all going on at the same time, which impacted traffic through this area, backed everything up. The 5 was closed at that time for, I believe, like a day and a half, and the 58 and 14 were only closed for a couple hours. With I-5 being closed for that length of time, that produced a lot more traffic through this area. There's still construction in the area, Sand Canyon, which also adds to the congestion for traffic through the area. Just recently, there was a pursuit that was originated by the Sheriff's Department. We ended up taking it over. It came through this area. One of our units ended up using the pit maneuver and getting the vehicle stopped. And after some time, there was a bit of a standoff with the suspect. They at one point tried to tase the guy, And that was unsuccessful. And then once our sergeant was on scene, they opened a dialogue with him and negotiated a surrender for a cigarette.
Wow. So we've got the price, have you?
That's the negotiator right there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's pretty much all the stats I got for you. Just wanted to bring up and give you, as far as progressive driving, of course, don't participate in it, but if you are a witness to it, instead of attempting to intervene yourself, call us, let us respond, and take care of it. Just allow people room, try and use your turn signals. If people cut you off, it's a lot easier to just kind of forgive and move on than it is to instigate something that could escalate.
What's your last name again, Sergeant?
Walker?
Walker? What, at the first part of your report, you mentioned something about the shoot. What was that?
Ignore him.
Well, no. I didn't know they could drive.
They were driving, they were out on the road, standing in the way.
Okay, thank you very much.
You would ask that question, wouldn't you?
Well, I was trying to figure it out. I didn't understand what they were just animals that got hit or what?
Animals that had gotten out of whatever enclosure they were in and wandered out on the roadway.
Oh, okay.
How come you don't worry about the cows?
The cows can take care of themselves. You know,
I need you to speak slowly and use capital letters.
I'd be loved.
Okay, California Assembly
Can't you tell we
Representative.
love you?
I can feel one of them.
Hey everyone, how you guys
Hey.
doing? For anyone that doesn't know, my name is Rmac. I'm a field representative for Assemblyman Tom Lackey. It's great to be back. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Sorry I missed the meeting in November. Unfortunately, things got a little crazy towards the end of the year with the legislative session. So I have a very limited update for you guys this time around. Legislative session just went back in on January 6th. We are proud to say AB 1450, it's a bill we've been pushing for a couple of years now. It's Gabriel's Law. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a bill drafted after the tragic deaths of Gabriel Fernandez and Aconiapolis. Essentially what it does is create a universal reporting system between police, DCFS workers, social workers, and anyone else. So if any reports are made, all agencies have access to that. So everyone's more informed, so we make sure kids like that don't slip through the cracks in this circumstance. We are really proud to say that did just pass the Committee on Public Safety. So that's a huge step for us going forward, and fingers crossed, we're really hoping that one goes through. Beyond that, one of our bills, AB 850, just passed the Committee on Revenue and Taxation. Essentially what it does is create a loan repayment program for social workers. So as many of you probably know, anyone that's dealt with the counties, anyone that's read in the news, there's a huge issue with the dwindling amount of social workers. It's a very difficult field to get people into and stay into, especially with the high amount of student loans. So this is an incentive program to get people that want to be social workers, that actually care and want to help people. It's an incentive to get more in there and actually be able to help. Beyond that, Assemblyman Lackey, along with a couple other assembly members, did just call for an audit on state homeless spending. Obviously, within the Antelope Valley, we've all seen an uptick in homeless. So at the end of the day, we've seen a major uptick, but we haven't seen the infrastructure updated to actually support that. We haven't seen the state spending supporting helping the homeless, getting them into the right situations and helping our communities. So Assemblyman Lackey's calling for an audit on state expenditure in that circumstance. Beyond that, I don't have a lot of information on it currently. It's just a little bit that I've gotten from the Office of the Attorney General, but the initiative to repeal Prop 13 is now on the ballot for 2020. So that one is going to... it's an initiative to repeal Prop 13. So that's going to be initiative 19-0008. And I don't have a lot of information besides that, so we're gonna be keeping our eye on it, and, yeah. If anyone has any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. If you vote no on it, what does it mean? If you vote yes on it, what does it mean?
That hasn't been drafted yet, so I could not tell you, but like, hopefully it's pretty straightforward, no or yes, but as we saw with the gas tax and everything else, sometimes the wording can be a little tricky, so we'll keep our eye on it.
Yeah, we would appreciate an update
Yeah,
on the wording, so we know.
you got it. As soon as the Office of the Attorney General comes out with the actual draft for it, I'll make sure to look into it. Currently, the way it's written is to raise funding for schools, community colleges, and local government agencies and government service programs.
That's what they say every time they tax it, they never
Yeah.
spend it there.
They did have a couple different carve-outs of exemptions, stuff like that for private homes, private property, things along those lines. I'm hoping those stay in any circumstance, but still, it is a target on Prop 13, and obviously, if something than Lackey has been a firm supporter of Prop 13. So we're gonna keep an eye on that one.
Brendan, on the, one of them independent contractors, I think it's Assembly Bill 5.
Yep.
I guess they kind of put a waiver in right now to allow truck drivers, I guess that are independent operators, to continue operating. Do you see perhaps that becoming implemented?
With, at least from the feedback we've had, I'm hoping there will be a couple different amendments to AB5. We've had a lot of constituents reach out that are musicians, truck drivers, things of those sorts that were not previously exempt from AB5. So just from the uptick we've had, as well as the uptick I'm assuming the vast majority of other assembly offices have had, I am optimistic there will be some amendments made to it. I can't give you a 100% answer, unfortunately.
What group was
But,
just denied? It said they were too late for the waiver.
Oh, that one I could not tell you, unfortunately. I can look into it, but
Yeah, it was last week in the paper. There was a group that, and they said they were too late.
okay. Yeah, I didn't hear about that. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but let me look into it and I can get back to you guys on that one.
Please.
Let's go.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Kern County Supervisor?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Laura Lynn Wyatt. I am the field representative for East Kern for Supervisor Zach Scrivener. I'm going to just kind of talk really quick today because I want our guest speakers to have as much time as possible, as they are also from the county. And I think, Bill, are you going to talk about the crosswalk, Rosamond Boulevard?
Just very briefly to let them know that we generated the letter and
Yes.
stuff like that.
And I was told, I got a call on the way down here, I was told to tell you that the beacon lights have arrived and they're being tested. You should see movement and construction within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
So that's all I have for tonight, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Nothing new on the light pass road?
It's still in planning. Yep. Thanks.
RCSD?
Good evening and happy New Year, everyone. Haven't had a lot going on, but we have had some issues on long-term projects. Arsenic consolidation is continuing. We released some funds to go ahead and continue with that. And also our bonds, I'm quite sure a lot of you are familiar with the assessment bonds from the early 1990s that were issued for all the infrastructure improvements. A long time ago, but a lot of those bonds went in default. And again, we released some funds to work through the Sheriff's Department for a sale of the last remaining properties to continue to try to make the bondholders whole in this venture. At our last board meeting, we went ahead and awarded a contract with Aqua for our wastewater treatment plant. What this is that we have a great crew with Kennedy Jenks running the construction management of the project and building the plant and design and all that. But we needed to bring in a company, a manager, to make sure that all of our treatment processes, something that the construction doesn't address, to make sure that our treatment processes are being done correctly, our monitoring wells are in the right place. doing the testing, making sure that our operators have the right licenses, and to work through any problems where during the construction, if we find something that needs to be tweaked, that isn't going to quite give us the process that we needed and the results that we're looking for to help correct those issues. So they'll be working hand in hand with Kennedy Jenks and the contractors while the plant is being built. So when we are complete, that we'll be able to hit the ground running without any hiccups.
Did the architects guarantee that it was being built to the latest standards? So it's going to
Yes.
meet all those? If it was designed that way to meet all the standards,
Well,
I'm not sure why you need to hire somebody to make sure.
Well, the thing with the plant, and I can go from this from experience. When I was with LA County and we built the Avenue D plant and the Palmdale facilities, they were designed by engineers. They were all designed to spec and everything else. But while they were being built, we were able to walk through the construction areas and say, you know what, this pump is in the wrong place. It's not going to be as efficient here. We need to move it there. The design of the sedimentation tanks, the mechanical apparatus is in there. The airflow, maybe the blowers need to be readjusted. It's things like this that you find that you don't want to find these problems after you start the plant up and the contractor's left, because then it costs an enormous amount of money to have them come back, because they built it as designed. And so if it needs a hiccup and you're only getting 80% efficiency out of the plant, well, then they got to come back and fix it. So as a cost-saving move, you have an experienced engineer that's looking at the operations aspect of it, to where, like, just real simple, when I first got on the board, the plans had already been at 90% that Kennedy Jenks was going to go. And they had their blower system. We had two 100 horsepower blowers, and they were going to put in a 200 horsepower blower, one more. And the three of them could run the facility. But if we lost one 100 horsepower blower or the 200, we couldn't run the plant. We had no redundancy. So while it was still in design, we caught that problem. Now, it would have worked without any breakdowns. It would have worked as designed. But now they put in two 250 horsepower blowers, eliminated the 100. The one 250 can run the entire plant. If that one goes down, we have a spare to come on and run the plant. It's things like that that you want to catch and look for. Because, you know, no construction project, even though it's all designed and everything is going to work out, is going to be turnkey. There's always going to be hiccups, there's going to be adjustments, and we're hoping that because of the criticality of a treatment plant, and plus with the Lahontan board making sure that we have to follow their regulations, that we catch these problems before they become a problem.
Would it be fair to say that the Aqua contract was more for developing procedures?
Procedures and
Post-construction.
operation, from an operational standpoint, not a design standpoint of the deal. It's just that we know what we have to have. We have our permit from Lahontan, so we know what we have to have and what the plant has to be able to do. And then while it's being built, if we see where, you know, this placement of this pipeline here, or inspection points, or things like the sampling ports, just little things like that where they can find out to say, you know what, it's going to service, while you guys are building this, let's move from here and put it over there. It's going to be more efficient.
How many plants have they designed? Just the first plant, or they've designed?
Kennedy Jenks, they designed tons of plants.
Because I've found working with architects that the more they've done, and especially if they're using the same building after the second or third time, they've got all the kinks worked out, and it's pretty
Well, the
straightforward.
one unique thing on this, Jim, is that this particular type of process we're doing is the first of its kind in the Antelope Valley. In
Okay.
fact, there's only one other facility right now that has it, and that's in Adelanto. There's one up in Northern California, but it's a fairly new process. It's cutting edge technology. So you can design a facility. It's not like this is a thousands plant of this nature that they've built. This is one of the first ones. So there's going to be a lot of adjustments and as-built to make sure that we can comply with the Lahontan.
So it's
permit.
sewage processing and then re-injection
Right.
to a tertiary level?
No, it's not a tertiary level. What we're doing is we're treating the water to a disinfected, denitrified secondary that's
Okay.
going to percolate into the ground. And then this water is going, we're gonna get water credits for it. So we're gonna get about 1,000 to 1,200 acre feet of water credits for this community. And speaking of water, we also purchased, I don't have it, I had it here, but in the interest of time, over 1,100 acre feet, our general manager found carryover water. So we got 1,180 acre feet of water credits that we were able to purchase for a very good price. So we got that, and then we're continuing to look for more. Keep in mind, this community uses about 2,500 acre feet of water a year. And with the ramp down that was mandated by the adjudication, we have to go from pumping out of our wells that 2,500 acre feet of water down to 440 acre feet of water. So now we have to turn around and we've got to find water to replace it. But we don't want to buy it on the open market, it's too expensive. So this plant that we're building, we're going to be able to percolate the denitrified secondary water and get water credits. It's going to percolate out there in the plant. We're going to pump it out of our wells out there at well 8 and 9. And we can buy water credits. You know, we can buy credits for water out there in Little Rock or Lancaster, Palmdale. It doesn't matter where we get our water credits from. We can go ahead and pump it out of our wells here. So we're continuing looking for water so we can get in there and, you know, make the purchases that we need to where we have our reliable water source in this community, not just today, but in the future as well.
I'm Jack, President of the Rosamond Chamber of Commerce. Don't have a lot to go over with. Basically, Rosamond Event Center status. Gene Melchers is my project manager on that project. So we did get all of our money in. He's working on the doors. We're getting new doors and windows for the Chamber of Commerce. A little more state-of-the-art, energy efficient, and a little more secure type doors. And they should be in end of the month. They've already been ordered, just wait for them to come in and be installed. And then in terms of the actual event center itself, we're getting the cement laid. We're going to be doing a shed, so we got to have all the foundation for that ready to go and stuff like that. And Gene's been working on that, and we should have the cement done by the end of February on the event center. And then we also have solar going on up on the canopy. We're going to have solar to help offset the cost of the event center and chamber itself. And that's going to take a little time because we got to get some permits and things of that nature in order before we can start on that. And so that's going to take a little longer before we can get the solar panels in motion and done. Other than that, I know Lisa called me and said the Welcome to Rosamond sign coming in on Sierra Highway was all graffitied up. And so I already made arrangements with Jed, and who actually painted the sign originally. And so he's going to go out and when he gets some time next week or so, and he's going to get rid of all that graffiti and clean up the sign, try to make it look like new. And that's about it. Anybody got any questions for the chamber? No? All right, thank you very much.
Southern Kern Unified School District.
thank you for having me this evening. I'm Barbara Gaines, Superintendent of Southern Kern. A few things to report out this evening. First of all, our enrollment is staying pretty steady at about 3,600 students, give or take a few, and that we have 6 schools that those students are enrolled in. Last night at our board meeting, we were very excited to reclassify 72 limited English fluent students into fluent English students. And that means that these students have had to pass multiple measures, multiple assessments to qualify for reclassification. So we were very, very happy to celebrate with them and their families last night at our board meeting. Recently in October, Southern Kern Unified School District was awarded $5.25 million to build 6 additional kindergarten classrooms on Rosamond Elementary school site. What we're finding is that there was a building that has already been, passed through DSA for 4 of those rooms. So we're hoping now, we do have our architect, Llewellyn and Moody, working on the second building for 2 classrooms. And we're just waiting to hear if they will let us begin the bids on the first building for the 4 classrooms. So if we get a go on that, we will put that building, what we're calling Building H, the 4 classrooms, and Building I, the 2 classrooms, out to bid very, very soon. Let's see, at the beginning of my tenure as superintendent, Southern Kern owed $3.4 million to Kern County Superintendent of Schools. That was the loan that was given to keep Southern Kern in operation about a year ago. And within 6 to 7 months, we have diminished that loan down to $1.3 million. And we hope by the end of this school year to have that loan totally paid back. Probably won't have any reserve yet, but our goal is by this time next year to also have some substantial reserve in our funds. Currently, the governor's budget is looking quite healthy for education, although we're not getting too excited about that until, as you know, those things come and go, until we actually see the governor's May revise. But there is a substantial amount for special education students, which would help all districts because that those students have a tendency to, the cost encroaches on the general fund. So it's pretty much my report this evening. Anybody have any questions for me?
When do you expect to have a qualified budget?
We expect next year, well, at the end of this year, we expect to be out of debt with Kern. Although Kern will still be sort of our mothership looking over everything we do until they see that we have a reserve. And we cannot apply for a qualified budget until the reserve is there. So we're predicting by January 2021, we will have some reserve. And then the ending fund balance for June or July of 21 could be somewhere in the range of 14-15% reserve. Not even make our payroll for 1 month. So as you can see, 14-15% is a little healthier, and that's pretty much what our board would like as well.
Teachers like that too, their employees like that.
Thank you.
Sure, I'd be glad to do that. Although we're on a restricted budget, as many of you probably know, our funds, some of them are restricted to where we cannot pay Kern back with these funds. They're primarily to educate children, to provide professional development for teachers. So we've been using our restricted funds to, we noticed on our state scores from this past year, the 18-19 school year, that our math scores were considerably, they were not good. If you look at math scores across the state of California, language arts, English is doing much better. Our students are doing much better in language arts and not so good in math anymore. So we've been bringing in people to provide professional development for our teachers. We're very excited that this coming Wednesday, if you get a chance to Google Brad Fulton, we will be bringing him to Kern County to provide PD for our middle and our high school math teachers. And this is just going to be the first of several days. We've also been working on what we call multi-tiered systems of support to prevent students from just being placed or being recommended for special education. Many of the students who we often recommend for special education are not really, should never be candidates for special education. They just may have a little lapse in their learning. And so we're preparing our teachers to provide the intervention and the support they need to prevent them from being referred for special education. So we have a lot of professional development going on for both our certificated teachers and our classified staff.
Thank you. Antelope Valley Citizens for Responsible Use of Water. Randy Scott was not going to be able to make it tonight, but he did give me a report, and I'll read that to you on his behalf. Okay, California reservoir levels are good, most of them near or above their historical average. Snowpacks are at Northern Sierra Trinity area, 70% of normal for this date. Central Sierra, 75% of normal for this date. And the Southern Sierras, 83% of normal for this date. Precipitation is at 62% of average for this date. The initial state water project allocation for water year 2020 to suppliers such as AVAC, Palmdale Water District, Little Rock, was announced in early December 2019 as 10%. This allocation will be reviewed and adjusted as necessary, depending on precipitation received as the year goes on. That's the end of this report.
Well, Bill, I'd like to add that on Tuesday night, the directors raised the rate of water, wholesale water, to 7.5%. And this seems kind of hefty, but they're looking ahead to the contribution they're going to have to make to build the tunnel. And that's going to be in the millions.
Is that AVEC you're talking?
Yeah, AVIC, yeah.
Thank you very much, John. Edwards Air Force Base. Okay, I'd like to turn the floor over to Carl Brewer and Kern County General Skills.
Thank you. My name's Carl Brewer. I'm the senior manager over facilities and parks for Kern County. This is Matt Howard. He oversees Eastern Kern parks and facilities. We just wanted to come and try to create a dialogue for any concerns or anything with parks or facilities within the Rosamond area. Some things that are just county-wide that we've been working on. We've really been attacking our grant writing for Proposition 68. There's a lot of funding out there. We want to make sure that we spread the love throughout all the districts and all the areas. So it is criteria driven now. So some of the facilities that we went for first, we just want to make sure we give ourselves the best opportunity based on the criteria that's set by the state. We're also in the middle of constructing a low barrier homeless shelter. I don't know if anyone's heard about that. It's going downtown Bakersfield just to have an impact on the homelessness within the metro area.
What does low barrier mean?
Low barrier means that it's easy to get access into the facility. So some facilities don't allow pets, for instance. There's specific criteria that came from the state. What low barrier means? It means that couples can come together. Children, well actually children is not part of that, but couples can come together, so there's men and women section. Animals, you can bring belongings, for instance. It means ease of access, essentially. I'm going to hand it off to Matt Howard, who's going to give more specific update for Rosamond. but we are both here to answer any questions that you might have.
I'm good. I'm Matt Howard. I partnered with the county in March, so I'm pretty new as far as the county goes. My background before this was actually homeowners associations, so I managed nonprofit organizations, if you will, for 12 years. Was in Monterey County, beautiful county to live in, lived there for 10 years. Then was in Ventura County, and then I had the opportunity to come partner with Kern County. So now I oversee eastern Kern County. Being the third largest county in the state of California, we have a lot of square miles to cover. But I'm happy to be east because I get Lake Isabella, I get Rosamond, I get Boron, I get Astroburger. Who doesn't not like Astroburger, right? But for Rosamond, I've visited Jim Woolford Community Park several times. Really been putting a huge effort in getting that pool up and running for this coming summer season. So hopefully the residents will have that amenity to enjoy. We did complete phase 1 and phase 2. There was only really 2 phases to get that pool up and going. So we have committed to that and have completed that at the tune of just under $30,000 is what it costs to get that pool just up to a usable state. We do have a contractor maintaining that pool for us right now, so chemical levels, equipment, etc., and that is on a weekly basis. What's kind of cool is he's able to be our eyes as well, so he lets us know if there's things taking place in that park and or with the equipment that need to be addressed. For whatever reason, somebody wanted to use their non-artistic abilities to paint inside and outside of that building some very derogatory and offensive symbols, if you will. I took offense to it when I saw it, and I immediately had our graffiti team, it's one person, come out here and address that immediately, twice. It happened one week and then the following week, and it was literally there for probably less than 24 hours from the time it was brought to our attention. Yes. So there is a resident that lives across the street from the park. I believe his name is Daniel, if anybody knows him. Real cool guy. He came over when I was walking the park. I drive a very obvious vehicle. It says Kern County Grounded and Boundless on it. So when people see that, I'm generally approached and they're like, hey, who are you? And so he came over. I gave him my cell phone number. He's my Sunday text buddy now. He texts me on Sundays with his report of the park. And so I appreciate that because we don't have eyes out here. I mean, we do have a team out here, but not a resident that lives here. And so it's been kind of cool to build that relationship with him. And he always sends me a thank you because he'll go over and see our graffiti team, our one guy, and thanks him for the promptness of getting the graffiti cleaned up. So yeah, we're going to be putting out the recruitment for the lifeguards and the staff for the park or the swimming pool operation here in the coming months. So we will look forward to that. We will get it kind of blasted out, if you will, to this group and any other groups that we can to get qualified lifeguards. The entity that is maintaining the pool for us, JP Pools, also has a pretty good network of qualified persons to come in and help with that. So kind of stay tuned for that. And we are looking for other funding sources just to continue to make that park what it was. It sounds like maybe when it was first built, I was talking a little bit when I first got here that park, it almost seems like that community should have been an HOA. Just from my background, and you pull in there and you're like, oh, this kind of looks like it had the opportunity to be an HOA at one point in time. And I guess it was a very beautiful park. I went back and looked at some pictures of it. So hopefully we can get that kind of turned around in that to be a nice park again and make the amenities make sense.
I think as a matter of fact, when they first opened up those homes there, I think there was a homeowners association.
It wasn't a homeowner, it was a fee that they had. The first West Park, there's 497 homes. They had a fee that paid for the pool. They still do.
Yeah, so I think there's 3 or 4 tiers actually that have to pay into that.
How much is that they end up paying? What is that? How much money is generated by that fee?
Yeah, annually it's not much, less than $5,000, so.
And that's actually administered through Public Works, and then the way that it has to work its way to us, there's a process for it, and it's request based. So yeah, they're still paying that fee, and I'm really not sure with the new homes, that I believe Legacy is the builder that's building those new homes. So I'm gonna try to hit them up for some money actually, because there is a park there and they're building homes, and it'd be really nice if they could help, incentivize the sale of their homes by having a beautiful park that they have the pockets that are deep enough to probably help with some funding. So I am going to be reaching out to them for some financial assistance. It's worth an ask, right?
Well, Director Checkley has been doing some things like that for us too, and trying to generate some enthusiasm among some of the businesses here in town and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that we'll see something productive coming out of that.
If you don't ask, you're not gonna get it, right? And so it's at least worth the ask. So we're going to be working towards that ask. We know that the community here has a desire for a skate park. That is on our radar. We're part of this platform called eCivis, which is nationwide grant opportunities, and so you can really kind of scale them down to specific. So we're constantly looking for funding opportunities to hopefully get a skate park or such in this community. You have our contact information. If there's other things that this community desires, certainly worth the dialogue, because if you don't ask, we don't know, and we want to be able to provide the amenities or assist in providing the amenities that the community desires here.
Are there gonna be any
You never-
swimming programs or just community pool?
Probably just a community pool at this point. We don't have a program per se.
Yeah, we don't have a recreation department. We're just parks operations. So what it would be is just essentially allowing public use. But we're looking at trying to partner with local school districts, see if maybe there's some programming that school districts want to do. I know that there's swim teams. So maybe it could be a win-win. So we are exploring those opportunities. So, and I do want to get back to you. We will dig deeper into the budgetary numbers and get back to you on that as well.
Yeah, the other question I have, you never mentioned Lindau Park. That's where all the Little League and all that.
Yeah, so we call it Rosamond Park, because that's
Yeah.
the name of it. I know Glendale is the street that it's on. So we've met with multiple times with the Rosamond Little League. We've done work out at the concession building previously. We did a lot of work out there. One of the things specifically that we're going to be doing is looking at additional Prop 68 funding that lines up well with that. So the first round of Prop 68 funding is about $250 million. Next year, once
That would
budgeted.
build a nice park.
Huh?
That would build a nice
8.5
park.
was the max.
Yes.
$8.5 million.
So and that's what we did. We maxed out every request, and so we went through the process. Like I said, it's all criteria. We were purely data driven with our approach to what grants to submit, and for every grant that we submitted, we got a site visit from the state. So that's a good sign. They're not out wasting their time traveling around the state, checking out spaces.
So the Rosamond Park you wrote a grant for that?
We did not. So that was not in the order. It's close, right? So either next year, once the budget is allocated through the state, and we know exactly how much funding is going to be available for Proposition 68.
That Little League field is unsafe. The outfield, it's riddled with gophers and squirrels. There's holes, there's tunnels.
Yeah.
It's waiting for somebody to go running across there and a tunnel cave in and break an ankle.
Yeah, absolutely. And we work with the Little League, like I mentioned. So as those improvements are requested, we send our staff out to assist. It's actually in the operating agreement that's something that the Little League is supposed to address, but we still continue to support those efforts. One of the things that I'll mention about the Little League is once the grant opportunity does line up well with that, it will be a completely different park, because we will do an $8.5 million ask, and based off of how we've been getting feedback from the state, it would be, we would feel good about our opportunity with that. So what we've been doing consistently is going to artificial turf grass for all of our ball fields. So those are the asks, all LED lighting, everything's super energy efficient and low maintenance.
Those light poles, maybe 10 years old, I don't think they're that old, because they did put new lights in there.
Yeah, we put LED lighting. Our staff came out and upgraded all the LED lighting. We added lighting to the concession building just to brighten it up. There would be parking improvements to that space. I know there's overflow issues with a building that's across the street. It's like private property. So we would address all of those things in the concept design and submit it. And even if we didn't get grant funding, we could start then having a plan to kind of address some of those activities on our own.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent, and I'm going to use the term super parks, $8.5 million, you can build essentially a super park. I mean, it can have all sorts of different recreational opportunities, water, wheels for skating, multi-purpose courts.
Where are they looking at the skate park? Would it be at the Rosamond Park?
So that would be my recommendation. So the way the process works for the grants is that we try to piggyback off meetings like this. Hopefully you guys have a good social media following and we get a lot of folks here, and essentially they just start telling us what they want, and then we design it and we build it. And
That was actually part of the main criteria for the SPP grant that we just went for the 5 parks that Carl mentioned.
Yep.
They were very community-based. I mean, we had to get the community involved. And it was, what do you want to see? Not us coming in saying, this is what you should have.
Yeah, we don't even come with a design.
We came
initially.
with a map of an aerial view of the park, and we said, go.
And we went to schools. We went to senior centers. We went to a lot of different places just to get
Girls Club,
boys and
library,
girls, just to make sure that we're getting the entire community. And then we would bring back concept designs, and the community collectively would say, we want this element over here instead, and we would make adjustments and bring it back.
And of course, we were able to tweak with just our knowledge and being in the field, and a lot of these ended up becoming very customized. Like one of them, the design has a butterfly skate park in it. I mean, it's aerial view, it's a butterfly.
Correct.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, you're not going to see a butterfly skate park.
And in that same park, the splash pad it looks like a sea turtle from the skyline, and it's a splash pad that can be used year round. There's elements that are interesting to kids, even if the water's not there. Most spray parks that I see are only used for a couple months out of the year. We wanted to just change the way that we looked at parks overall. Yep.
The use that you get out of that, but not only baseball or softball, but the youth football, soccer, it gives them a big area to practice on.
Absolutely.
And it holds up. It's not like the grass, you don't have to water it.
And for me, I don't have to send people out to mow it, right? So that's it's a win-win-win.
Water's a really big deal, obviously.
Absolutely, and that's just going to be the status quo going forward.
I mean, everything is we're trying to go towards efficiency, being green, reducing the carbon footprint of the things that we can control, those being some of them. But it also helps on the other side from the reservations platform with controls. You can just go on and program it, right? Otherwise, it's going to be on a timer, or somebody has to manually shut things down. Therefore, you've lost efficiency, and your carbon footprint is still large. So, those are all of the elements that we look at in this. Obviously, if we get any of these grants, that's going to open the doors to kind of a new way for parks in Kern County.
Correct. Yeah, like Well, I essentially started overseeing parks about a year ago, and I saw a lot of opportunity. I was probably one of the only people that was excited about parks coming to general services because there's so much work with it, and the parks were in really rough shape. But we've started just setting new standards with our team for one, but then also just looking, as Matt mentioned, looking for opportunities for efficiencies. There's a lot of smart systems out there that even something as simple as a reservation where you can come up and reserve a softball field and program the lights from your smartphone, the irrigation shuts off, lighting comes on, you can pay for it through your smartphone. Those are the type of solutions that we're looking for.
Well, we're part of an organization called the California Parks and Recreation Society. Big organization. I hope to be the vice president for District 15 in February. So if so, we'll have even a better representation, Kern County will have a better representation to these networks. But it was like, what, my second week on the job, and Carl's like, oh, hey, we're going to this conference in Sacramento. And I'm like, cool. For how long? He's like, 7 days. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And so we went up there to Sacramento, and even the vendors, like, because Carl was posing that very thing of smart controls, even these vendors were like, wow, that's a novel idea. You know, so it's something so simple isn't really actually like incredibly relevant in county or city or local parks. So hopefully we're able to kind of start and be a trendsetter, if you will, with respect to being a smart control-based county.
Absolutely, and we've already done it. I've proven it like on the facility side. So we had a lot of EMS system, which is energy management systems, countywide, that folks had to go, say we had an HVAC issue, folks would have to go on site, manually plug into the control system and make adjustments that way. Now we can collectively, or we have an interface that is centralized where you can control anywhere we have an EMS from any computer in the county or even from your phone. So we've already been doing those things with facilities. Now it's Parks turn.
Like on Tuesday, there was a very well-attended Board of Supervisors meeting.
4.5 hours?
Yeah.
And so we were actually
That was a long
able,
day.
from our computers, to be able to control the temperature, because there was a lot of people. I mean, we
Yeah.
had the board chambers, the rotunda, which is the main entrance of the county administrative building, the first floor.
Yep.
And then they opened up the human resources training room for more overflow. So
In the third floor too.
a lot of bodies were in these spaces, therefore becoming, how many, 2,400?
22, about, yeah. But we,
So it has the opportunity to get warm fast.
Yep.
And so
It did.
being smart control,
But then
we
it got
were
cool
able
fast
It
to,
did,
too, right?
it did.
It got
You guys
cool
were on
fast.
it.
we were able to keep them cool, and we could heat it up if we needed to, and we could cool it down even more if we needed to.
And I didn't have to go inside to do any of that.
Yes, so
That's cool.
that, having such a large county would give, and a platform with better smart controls, just gives us that ability to be more efficient. Oh, the sprinkler head's running, oh, okay.
Flow sensors that automatically shut off anything. You know, there's just a lot of opportunities out there.
So when are we gonna see this in Rosamond? Next year?
So we've already, like I mentioned, over the past couple of years, we've already been making improvements to the Rosamond Little League. So that was my first point of contact in Rosamond. I know it's a big deal. The Little League is.
They're starting up now, and I just happened to be over there, and playing with some kids, and the outfield is, like I said, it's dangerous.
Absolutely, and what we typically do is every year. Her name is failing me right now. Angie. Yes. So she usually contacts us at the beginning of the season. We go out and we help with getting the field graded.
She does a tremendous job.
She's got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And she's definitely persistent, which I like. You know, so she comes with a question. She wants to follow up, and if you ask her about the concession building, I'm hoping that she would say nice things about general services.
Did you have a question?
I did, well, more of a comment than a question. As you guys are developing or looking for resources for our community, please consider one thing we haven't had for years and years and years that almost every other community does have, and that's Parks and Rec programs. You know, what parts you want, but you need programs for our use.
So, I appreciate that comment. So,
Everybody overlooks the program part of it, because they don't want to hire any staff to have any programs for that. And that's just as important for any Parks and Rec facility or area, is to have programs, because without programs, you don't have a draw for the use. I mean, you might have like the baseball, basketball, and things like that, that's just kind of set in stone. There's a lot of other programs that the youth on the street are going out and doing what they should be doing, and get involved in these programs and kind of.
absolutely, I appreciate that comment. So, when parks, like I said, first became 100% my responsibility, my first phase is just to get everything operational and cleaned up and nice and get it beautiful. That's my first phase. But I do have a phase that I would like to get recreation back into Kern County. It's something that we don't have recreation from Kern County perspective. We do not provide any recreation programming countywide. So the city of Bakersfield, they have a recreation department. There's special districts that do, but Kern County does not do any programming anywhere. So that is something that I do want to revisit and get back into. But right now, most of our dollars are going back to making repairs, fixing things, and getting things back in operation.
Yeah, but also programs too can get, not a huge, but can get some return on their expenses.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and the way we typically do that is we look for operators of space to provide programming. So we partner and get in agreements with the Little League Association, and we'll be hiring our own staff. This will actually be the first recreation program that we do, because it's going to be operated by the county. The swimming pool, that's going to be the first time since I think the 70s that we've had recreation. So you guys are going to be the first.
And
to
our
have
expectation though, like
in the county.
for, just to set the expectation, this coming pool season will just be operation. It will not be.
Well, I teach a program for City of Lancaster, with their Parks and Rec. And basically, you know, it's a proposed program, and they get a percentage of the revenue that comes in. So they're not really having to pay for a person.
Yeah.
They're just collecting a portion of what comes in on the program.
So we do that. But the city of Bakersfield, they actually have staff that oversee the recreation.
Right, you're going to at least need one staff to oversee the facility.
Yeah.
You can't get around that.
Yeah. So but we are working. That's my goal before I leave my current role. That's my goal to have recreation back into Kern County parks.
Yeah, that's so vital to the growth of the community, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, couldn't agree more.
It's not only just the program itself, but the people in the community that has certain interests or expertise in programs.
What type of programming do you do, if you don't mind me asking?
Table tennis.
Table tennis?
Yeah, it's actually a big program. But,
beautiful, yeah.
I do seniors, youths, adults, and then league players.
So if we set up some concrete tennis table spaces out at Lindauer or Rosamond Park, maybe you'd be interested in operating or doing some programming for us?
Yeah, have to be indoors.
Have to be indoors?
I teach like tournament level, like
we can put a pavilion.
Like you see on TV, you know, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Back. I'm sorry. Before we chase you out of here because of the potential of bad weather up there in Tehachapi, I do want to kind of let you know, I have this idea about United Park. United Park belongs to the Southern Kern Unified School District, so I know it's their bailiwick, but I know the school district doesn't have money to keep that place up right now. And I'd like to see some kind of arrangement worked out perhaps between Parks and Recreation, the school district, and perhaps RCSD as well.
Water costs a lot.
Yeah, and so we explore opportunities like that, but as I mentioned before, like right now the condition of we have 46 parks countywide, And when I came on board, the condition was pretty poor. We've made a lot of improvements. My approach to acquiring new parkland I would have to have all of the existing operations pretty squared away before I start adding more responsibility. But that is something that we do explore, and we look at opportunities, and if we can acquire new acquisitions or even joint partnerships on grant opportunities, we're more than happy to assist in that way.
Real quick, when are you expected to hear about the grants?
Yeah, we should hear something back in March, and when we do, there's going to be a lot of media. We'll make sure that we get with Laura Lynn. That way, she can pass information on to this committee. Even though it doesn't affect Rosamond, it will establish a track record for us. This is the first grants that we've ever written. Actually, the first grant I wrote was to develop an OHV park for Kern County, off-highway vehicle park, and we were funded $380,000. That was the first grant I had ever written.
The Mojave is one of those that you guys applied for, right? That was
Correct.
under that.
Mojave East. Correct. Yeah. And that's a beautiful design as well. So
it's gonna if it gets funded, it's gonna be an aeronautical themed splash pad, which you have to admit is kind of cool. Like,
it's super cool.
Yeah.
So it's snowing in Tehachapi, so we want to all get over the hill tonight.
Understand. Short response. We're opening the pool. How many years we funded to keep it open to money?
So right now, there's no plans to. So we're going to keep it open. As long as the county is in ownership and operating it, we're going to keep it open. I know that's important to Supervisor Scribner. He's looking at. I know his team, Laura Lynn, Supervisor Scribner. They've been having conversations with a lot of agencies locally to hopefully get additional resources to make that happen. But as of right now, we would have loved to have it open last summer, but for sure it's going to be open this summer. For sure, and we have no plans on, as long as it's in my control, it's going to be open. All right?
Diving back into the pool for a minute. When were you thinking about opening?
So I believe the normal time frame is like the end of May, like as school's getting out.
It's usually Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah.
Were you looking at operating it beyond that any?
The only way we would look at that, it wouldn't really be as an operator or having folks there, but it would be like I mentioned before, partnership with the school districts and the swim teams and things like that.
Okay.
So this is going to be our first rodeo, if you will,
Yeah.
with the pool.
And that's no goal?
We're just going to have to figure it out as we go. So really, any question besides opening day is kind of premature for us.
Well, I was just looking for targets.
Yeah.
The target right now is let's get it opened in May and see what happens in June, July, August, September. The pool operator even said, hey, they kind of want things open a little bit later here just because the nights are still warmer, yada yada. And so we will certainly explore that, and the pulse will be tight on that to figure out community interest, weekends heavy, whatever that situation be, keep it open an extra month.
We probably ought to coordinate with the schools in terms of when is the last day of school and then when do they should start again.
We just
Because they don't necessarily
contact information, so.
they don't necessarily align anymore with Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that
so-
way they would get the lion's share of the use from the youth.
Our spray parks, we typically, like our splash pads that we operate, we typically within at the end of the school year. That's our we don't have a set date every year because sometimes the weather's turning a little cooler or sometimes it's warmer a little earlier. So we have flexibility with that. It's not there's no policy. It's essentially like we can say, hey, let's open this right now.
How cool would it be there's smart control?
Yeah.
Well, Carl and Matt, I appreciate you taking the time out and coming and visiting with us today. I'm going to go ahead and chase you out of here because I don't have my phone beds at my house to put you guys up.
I appreciate that, Bill. And if there's any questions, Chairman Parkman has my contact information. So we're open books and we love feedback and we love dialogue. So definitely don't feel don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Well, thanks for taking the time to come
And I am up here. I mean, just because my office is in Bakersfield, I come out here, I go to Mojave.
Isn't this your building as well?
This is my building.
Can we get cards?
Yes, absolutely. I already put in a request for the lights throughout the parking lot when I pulled up, so.
And Bill's gonna get you for the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the sign.
Yeah, let's talk about that
Yeah.
sign for a minute.
You guys live here, I don't, so really appreciate your eyes and ears, and email me, text me. Thank you. You're welcome.
Hey, listen, you're okay, I don't care what you said about you.
Yeah, I don't really either.
Well, thank you all. Have a great night.
Thanks a lot.
very much.
God bless.
Thanks, you guys, good night.
Drive safe.
We'll try.
Yeah.
Safe as we can, right?
Yeah.
Have a good night, folks.
Community announcements. I have a lady in attendance tonight. She just moved to Rosamond. I thought I'd give her a few minutes to talk about some programs for youth. And maybe perhaps we can point her into some specific direction or something like that. Or maybe she has all of that geared up for us. So we turn the floor over to you.
Okay. My name is Mary Rodriguez. I just moved here in 2016 from Missouri. And I noticed that there wasn't a lot of things for, as you were saying, for you to do here in Rosamond. And so, and I had these over there on the table. I wrote like a beginning proposal for a summer camp. And I want to start off with like a 2-day summer camp for youth. And then where they would have classes, art, water play, game day, science, and then the next day they would go on a field trip. To start, they would have breakfast during that first day and lunch, and then the second day they would have breakfast and then go on a field trip. I'm a retired social worker, and I've done a lot of programs and things back in Missouri. I had a scholarship that I started for youth called the Achievement Through Adversity Scholarship. It was for high school students that were able to graduate in spite of adversity. So I have a lot of interest in youth and things for youth. And so this is one thing that I would like to just start with doing. But I'm real interested in trying to get things going for youth. And tonight I'm talking about this camp proposal. But if anybody has any information or anything they can give me that might help in terms of partnership. I don't have a 501c3, but what I usually do is partner with a not-for-profit organization in order to get donations in order to do the programs. And I have information here about some of the programs and the scholarship that I did in Missouri.
Where would you do this?
I'm sorry?
Where?
I had talked to somebody, at first I was going to look at using one of the churches here, but that is kind of very expensive. And I was pointed in the direction of one of the parks, maybe that Glendower Park or Rosamond Park to have it, yeah. And so.
Well, that was fortuitous.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was fortunate that they were here.
Yeah, I know, I got all this information, I gave him one of those. But, yeah, there's just not much for the youth to do, and if they do want to go anywhere or do anything, they have to go to Lancaster or Palmdale, and if they don't have money for their parents for gas or anything like that, then they're just stuck here. And I was really, really surprised to hear that some of the kids, I don't know if it's true, but they even said that they've never even been to the mall in Lancaster. And so I was like, that's...
Well, the Glendower Park, or Rosamond Park, officially, all the locals call it Glendower Park. That building originally was for those types of programs. And then the Little League took that building over. This would actually be more of a program you'd want to propose to the county maybe for that building.
I'm sorry, to the county.
for that building.
Yeah, go to the county to see about using the building that's at the Rosamond.
Oh,
Park.
That's controlled by Rosamond Little League now.
Well, it is, but, you know, you can still go to the county and try to work something out.
If she goes to the county, then
She'll get more
they
support.
might get some cooperation and possibly get some time allocated and stuff like that, because you know, sometimes you need somebody to help you push the door open a little bit.
Yeah, because if anybody comes off the street, I know this, they're gonna say no. But if you go to the county, and no guarantee, but I mean, at least you would, if you get them to support this program, then they may open the door to have a dialogue with the Little League and see if there's something that mutually work out. But that building is what that building originally was built for.
In Kern County?
Yes.
Yes, Kern County, the gentleman, we were just talking to.
Oh, okay.
Or Kern County Parks and Rec, which,
Okay, Kern
that's
County.
his district, which would be, Matt, I guess, is the new person for that.
Okay, yeah, I have his name.
But, your only other option would be this building here.
Yeah, and I spoke to somebody about that.
But there's gonna be, insurance,
Insurance,
live
that was the main
scans,
thing.
all that kind of stuff that happen before you even consider a program like
Right,
that.
that was the main concern, and so I was pointing, to that. I work in Lancaster right now for Lancaster Care, for Parks and Rec Care. But, one of the ladies that I work with, they used to do a camp here in Rosamond some years ago. And then she said something happened with the funding or something, and they had to stop doing it, and so it's just a need, I just.
Well, Kern County just hasn't been supportive of programs, I'll be honest with you.
I don't know how to keep.
They have limited funds that go to facilities, and in terms of supporting actual programs, there just hasn't been much support in Kern County. You go to LA County, you got tons of it. You know,
Why would you say that is?
I really couldn't tell you why that is. Maybe, there's a different budget, LA County versus Kern County.
It's probably a funding thing.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
Funding and having someone being a strong advocate for it.
Well, yeah.
Lancaster was sinking a lot of.
Well, but county was stuff further out too.
And I really think that you need to revisit with the churches, because I know a lot of the churches are looking for ways that they can help in their communities and stuff. And some of the churches, deal with, food banks and things of that nature, and others do various other things. So I'm sure that in this town, there's probably a couple of receptive groups that would be very interested in the program.
And partner.
And as you know, there's a lot of liability in those programs. A lot of liability. So, I mean, in my terms with City Lancaster, I mean, how can you go wrong? They cover all the insurance, and I don't have to worry about none of that. So I'm just a contract employee there.
Mary, you didn't give us a phone number.
Yeah, I just noticed on my phone. Yeah, it's 661-451-3875. And like I said, I'm very, very interested in youth. I talked with someone about trying to get this scholarship program started here in the state of California for high school students that are able to graduate in spite of adversities. Real quick, I just got that idea from watching that movie, The Blind Side, and I thought there was a lot of kids that they try and they have a lot of adversities and things they have to go through, and they still do it anyway without any recognition or any help, and they don't need it. They're willing to do it, but when you give that extra little push, little help, support, that just makes it all that much better. And so we were able to give scholarships to those kids, and that program, unfortunately, before I left, they had ran out of money, but I do want to start it here because I know there's a lot of kids here that, in spite of being in poverty and all kinds of negative situations are still getting good grades and trying hard, and they just need the support to be able to persevere.
But thank you for giving us your number, Mary, and I'm going to check with you. They'll probably be calling you in a couple of days. Okay, last of our community leader reports. Mr. Gatton, would you like to give us a real estate report?
Sure. Albert Gatton with Keller Williams Realty. As far as activity here in Rosamond, we currently have 45 active homes for sale, with a average asking price of $300,170. That equals out to, for a price per square foot of $171.87 a square foot. Pending sales, those that are currently in escrow, we've got 27. And the average price on those are a decent amount lower at $268,651. And now if we look at the closings, November and December, of course, holidays, things slow down. So November we had 28 closings here in Rosamond. December we only had 22. And the price changed, it actually went up, mainly because they were larger homes that sold in December. So November we were at $251,002 for an average sales price. In December it went up to $284,627. So housing prices still kind of fluctuating a little bit as far as price per square foot, but activity is still good, with having 27 pendings and then 22 and 28 closings, with 45 active. So that only gives us about a 2-month inventory, which still puts the market locally here in a seller's market. In order to have a balanced market, we like to see a 6-month inventory. And we've been at this for 7-8 years now, as far as it being a very strong seller's market, with a low amount of available properties. And if you're interested in getting more updates more often than just once a month here, always check the Rosamond News. We do an update in there as well.
What's average square foot?
Price per square foot?
No, average square foot of the home.
I'd have to double check.
Thank you very much, Robert.
Yep.
Okay. Public comment period. Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and move into the business meeting committee reports. First one is East Rosamond access for emergency vehicles. At November's meeting, we approved a letter to the Kern County Board of Supervisors regarding the bypass access road to the east side of Rosamond. That letter was delivered by Director Schaffner and I the very next day, the 22nd of November. Okay. At this point, it sits in the planning department, and we'll try to keep providing people updates as to how that's going. Okay, B, administration office space, files, and equipment. No update on furnishings as far as anything new, but we do have some people in the community that have donated some furniture items for our office, so we're going to try to open from time to time and be available to the community if they have any issues or concerns. Yeah. Item 3, Rmac special vacancy notice. That's been filled by Mr. Jim Johnson here. I think most people probably know him, Jim.
I've
Never met him.
I grew up here, went to school here.
Never saw him before.
Just heads up.
Nice to meet you.
I'm sorry, what?
Nice to meet you.
Then we have new business coming up.
We do have the waste management. You skipped second.
Oh, okay, I skipped 10, excuse me. I'm in a hurry, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back. 10A is new revised crosswalks and upgrades to signalized crosswalks. Same as for the emergency vehicle levy that we did, that was approved at the November meeting, and Director Schaffner and I delivered that to District 2 Board of Supervisor Zach Scribner on that following Friday. Waste management services, transfer station bulk trash pickup. Lisa's not here tonight. I don't know if she has been talking with you folks about that.
Yeah, just looking for a date, and hopefully we can do that our yard.
Can I ask a question about the, what are the upgrades for the side crosswalk and what?
The 3 locations, one is down by, I have brain gas sometimes. There's an apartment complex here, which is right across from Rosamond Plaza.
Yes.
There is no crosswalk in that area. And at night, the lighting is marginal at best. We've had a couple of close calls by people coming from Edwards Air Force Base or going to Edwards Air Force Base as far as almost hitting pedestrians. So that's one location we're looking at, some type of signalized crosswalk.
Triggered by an individual?
Push button type thing. If you've noticed any of the ones down in Lancaster, there's one over on 10th Street West, as well as 15th Street West is a new one, very close to East Avenue J there. I mean West Avenue J, and 15th Street. And it's got crosswalks right there in front of some of those convalescent homes. And it is LED light, it's battery powered or radar, solar powered, excuse me. And so it takes care of itself. It cuts down on the amount of infrastructure work you have to do. You don't have to go doing a lot of busting up of curves to run AC conduit and stuff.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I understand what it is, I was wondering what the location.
Yeah, and the other one is at Eagle Way in Rosamond Boulevard, right there by the high school. It allows people to cross there between the high school and the Tom's Restaurant.
Yeah.
And then the third one is down by Tropico Middle School. The crossing guards do a great job of maintaining peace and order there, but once they stand down from that, it gets a little hectic there, and sometimes there's kids that are trying to get across that road. And even with it being a 4-way stop, it appears to not catch people's eye, and we wanted some type of solar-powered signal light there.
Yeah. All 3 of those sound like great locations. Would benefit the community and safety.
Okay, so waste management. We'll probably give you guys a call sometime this coming week.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, we already talked about the access road and the files. Special vacancy notice, that's OBE. I did not get any paperwork on it yet, Jim. That's why the agenda did not get changed. Okay, new business, long and short-term goals for 2019, 2020, and I've done up a little handout here for my fellow directors. And it lists basically all the projects that have been going on here in Rosamond that have been identified and something been done with them since 2014. Some of them are already complete now, they're marked as such. Others were identified and, for example, the safe sidewalks that they're talking about running along Rosamond Boulevard and then going down 20th Street West. It's going to be basically asphalt sidewalks, but that first popped up in 2015 the money didn't get approved basically for it until it looks like 2018, 2019. They're in design now, and construction should start sometime later this year, with completion sometime 2021. The reason I'm pointing that out is that a lot of folks get upset when things here, they look around and go, you know, this problem here in Rosamond, it's been going on for 5 years. You know, it takes a long time to get money, to get approvals for things. It isn't an easy process. But what I hope for us to do here at Rmac is to maintain some type of a tracking document for these things so that we know where they're at and what's going on. And I asked my fellow directors to take a look at it. Some of them do not have dates in there yet, and that's because I spent a lot of my Christmas vacation trying to convince myself I didn't have the flu.
How'd that work?
Not very well. But anyway, so this will be updated periodically and will be put out at our meetings and stuff like that, so the community can be aware of it as well. The whole goal with this is so that whenever you're sitting down at Patty's having a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning and someone is trashing our little town, saying nothing happens here, no one cares, and stuff like that, you can say, no, maybe you should go to an Rmac meeting and see what's going on. Yeah.
They'd rather trash.
It's easier that way.
It is.
Okay.
Somebody made a statement on our Facebook page about why is this something being done, and I said, well, invited them to come to the meeting, you know. It sounds like you're enthusiastic about it, why don't you come out and be a part of the solution?
Yeah, there are folks like that, and I think all of us directors do that. We invite these folks to come to the meetings because if enough people get involved in it and get upset with it, maybe we as a group will go to the Board of Supervisors and say, we can't let this stand, guys. We need to change this. Right now, you know, we're an unincorporated town, which means we, in the grand schemes of a bureaucrat, means we're a white spot in the road.
Means we have no voice other than recommendation.
And if we want to change it, if we want this town to become something, and maybe one day become a city, then we need to do those things. But right now, our population is what, 20 to 24,000, I think. To become a city, you got to be almost 70,000. So we're not talking about something that's going to happen overnight.
It's not necessarily population driven, it's more tax-based driven.
Yeah, it's revenue.
That's why I keep thinking about that, you know, the bypass road, taking 10th all the way down to either Patterson or Avenue A would help to open that up for more development, more industrial development.
Yeah. No, that's what we actually need is industrial.
Okay. Anything for agenda referrals for next month?
Should we, not that I'm not happy with the way things are, but do we need to relook at chairman, vice chairman?
I don't know, we could put it up for a vote. I mean, to me, I think they typically do that in the first quarter of the year. I think the last time we did it was in November of 2019. We had the election.
Just after the elections.
Yeah. So we could do it after the general election in November this year, or we can do it now. It's whatever the council would like to do.
I'm okay with the way things are, but I'm wondering if we need a motion, maybe we can wait till next time, vote and say, why don't we just keep it the way it is? And let everybody vote on it. maybe it wants.
Okay, well, we can make an agenda out of that.
Well, that's what I'm
about that
thinking.
For next month.
Yeah, we probably at least ask the question.
Okay.
What were the names of the folks that did graffiti?
That was the Gail Wingfield and
Gail,
Paul and Gail Warner.
Gail and Paul
Warner.
Warnick.
yeah, Warren, yeah, okay. And then, of course, RCSD has a group of people who do abatement.
They only do the county roads or sections along the roads. They can't do a lot of the
Private
properties.
stuff.
Private stuff, yeah. Private businesses, private.
Have you heard from the Warnicks lately?
Yeah, I talk to them all the time.
Okay. Yeah, just seeing.
I used to be part of that program, so I know.
Oh, no. You're a part of what they wanted to clean up.
Was that payback, Dennis?
No.
I think that was.
Anything else, Dennis?
No, can't think of it.
Okay. How about you, Jim?
No. Future event agendas, or does the director stop?
This is the agenda referrals.
No.
Okay.
Did you want to mention these maps?
I was gonna do that. Okay. Dennis and I went up there to see a few folks, including Lorelei, in Bakersfield on the 22nd of November. She gave us a small drawing of the area of responsibility for the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council. And essentially it goes from Avenue A to Dawn Road. And from the boundary line at the base all the way out to 190th Street. Now, I don't know how you get to 190th Street from Rosamond Boulevard,
Well, I
but
used to live on 170th, so I can tell you that. No, I was on 140.
But anyway, I consider this board to be out of date because it was issued in 2013. And that's where this board here comes into play back here. So we get cooperation. And the orange portion signifies from Dawn Road up to Bacchus Road, out to the same boundary points. This from some of the things that I've done and some of the other folks have done, we've been out here in this area as well dealing with issues. So I think that we should get recognition for that. And I'm going to put that up as a proposal to these guys next month, so we can vote on whether to keep the 2013 boundary or move to this boundary line.
So if you don't, who would be responsible for that, Mojave or?
The county is right now. Mojave's responsibility goes down to, I think it's Silver Queen or Golden Queen Road, whatever that is there. But I have a copy of those in your package there, here, so you guys can take a look at it. And then we'll have it on the agenda and vote on it.
Would that extension include both sides of Bacchus or just the south side of Bacchus?
South.
It's the north side of Baptist. No, the south side.
South side.
South side, yeah, it's a down road.
Because I know just the way the maps work, right? When we were doing the renew biz and everything else, it's like, oh, well, it works for one side of Cedar Highway, but not the other. So that's just why I'm asking.
Well, that's something we can certainly address on the thing, because I agree with you, Albert. It doesn't make any sense to put the line in the middle of the road.
Right.
Should be more community based.
There's a lot of development on both sides.
Mhm.
Right, yeah, there's a lot on the north side there.
Yes, Greg.
Why don't you guys, being as all of this area is District 2, why don't you work with the school district and follow their covers is considered the Rosamond area, and whatever their boundaries are, you guys should go ahead and call them the same boundaries. That way you're both representing the same pool of people.
That's a good idea.
That's a real good idea.
And same issues too, yeah.
Let's look at that.
And the school district, I'll just let you know, we go to Bacchus Road. The southern part of Bacchus Road is Southern Kern School District. The northern part goes to Mojave.
Okay.
How far? But it's about a mile north of Bacchus, the Rosamond district goes, isn't it? The Southern Kern?
I was told we go to Bacchus Road, because it's the southern part of Bacchus.
Because all of the students from, it's probably a mile up from Bacchus Road not from, or from the Mojave Tropical Road. It extends east a little ways, because there's, those students you go to Southern Kern, and then I think it was a mile that the students on the north side of Bacchus Road went to Rosamond also. There's there's a whole bunch of houses on the north side of Bacchus Road that the students go to Rosamond, or to Southern Kern.
And it could be that they may not be going for Southern Kern. I can look into that. I can talk to our director of transportation. I was originally told that we do go to Bacchus Road, but the northern part of Bacchus Road is part of Mojave's district, and that we go all the way to the gate, or almost to the gates of Edwards, and west we go to 270th West. However, our buses stop at 170th. So any child living from 170th to 270th has to be brought in to 170th to get the bus. And down to Avenue A.
It sounds like we're pretty close as far as where we want to be on these boundary lines. Now, I don't know about how far out beyond 190, because right now this is set for 190th Street. And
You know, the only
That
two.
is a great idea,
If they're exactly the same. Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind checking, then we can check with you later, either I or Jim or Brennan, if he's available, we can figure that out. Because if it did mirror it, it would simplify life dramatically.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised that such a sterling idea came from that guy, my friend.
There used to be a big map with the outline, but that building that it was in has now been removed, so I don't know if they.
I could probably find out tomorrow.
okay, any director's comments? Jim?
Welcome aboard.
I'm glad to be here to represent the people of Rosamond and hopefully make it a better place for our students and population, parents, and make it a place to be proud of.
When the Rmac first formed, Jim was on it then, but there was way too much on your plate, as I remember. And you had to kind of pare some stuff off. Now that his life has changed a bit, he's got some time. And I know from experience back then that he's got a real heart for helping Rosamond to be a better place to live and work.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Anything, Brendan?
I was gonna mention this while the county or sheriff's department was represented, and I don't see him here anymore, but it does appear that the illegal cannabis shops have been officially closed down now.
They were raided, I guess yesterday, or the day before yesterday. And I think they were hard locked down. So.
Which shops?
All of them.
Oh.
So I just wanted to express my appreciation to the county.
What about tomorrow?
Well,
Seems like
you know,
2 days
Jack,
later.
they probably opened 2 hours after the deputies drove off into the sunset.
Let's just say this, there aren't 20 some odd still operating at this time. So they're doing their job, they're getting them knocked down, and I just wanted to express my appreciation to the sheriff's department and the county for continuing the process and getting it taken care of.
We'll get that passed along to Laurel then, I think. Where are you gonna get your stuff
I was gonna ask you that.
Okay, the final thing I have is there's several notices of opportunity that came out toward the end of last week and early this week. Two of them have already gone to the Board of Supervisors, and they deal with development and rezoning at the southwest corner of Rosamond Boulevard and 25th Street West. To make a long story short on that, it's going to be a service station, a restaurant, and some type of retail store. They have a couple of different options on it. And that basically wipes out the Rosamond used car lot there on that corner. So that is on track. Someone did bring up to my attention, though, that there is another notice out there dealing with an apartment complex that's supposed to go be built in behind that. I have not seen that.
Was that on the 30th or 35th?
25th.
No, the notice, because I saw a hearing notice.
Well, this one on this apartment complex, I haven't seen a notice for it, but I had someone bring it to my attention.
Well, the document I saw was for a hearing. I don't know if it's 25th or 30th, but it was one of those streets. It might have been 25th, but I thought I saw it for 30th. It was a huge area, kind of an L-shaped development, but there was no, it showed like pipes and different services and stuff like that in the blueprint they had, but there was no distinctive description. So I was asking Gene about it. He seems to think they just did it just to subdivide the properties for sale.
But that's what it looks like to me, it's just a subdivision, and it doesn't commit anyone to doing anything there.
Because there was no description as to what was being built or proposed or anything like that.
You know, the only thing that's near term is the service station and that little retail complex.
What have you guys received to provide water services and things too?
Well, that's why I'm wondering if that's why they put the water pipes and stuff, maybe that.
There might be things that are in the planning stages, but until they actually get to the permitting, there will be an application for a will serve letter for water. And when I was on this board here, there was a lot of rumors coming up about apartments going in and everything. I was always in contact with Lorelei immediately on it. And she assured me that any apartments that are being talked about for this area at this time are market value apartments. So, yeah, there might be some apartments going up, but they're gonna be market value, and okay, that's fine, you know. But again, until they get further along in the planning process and actually have to apply for a unconditional will serve letter, it's really kind of a back burner type of an issue.
Generally speaking, are you still going to be giving will serve letters?
At this time, yes, we do not have a moratorium against will serve letters, and but it's on a case-by-case basis, and then we're watching our water and water availability. What we're doing now is that we're requiring anybody that wants to build a project, that they have to secure water for that, either through AVAC or through us, but we have to locate it. In other words, we can't promise them water that we don't have. So if they can go out and they can secure, if they need 100 acre feet of water for something, then they can go ahead and purchase the rights to that water, then that water belongs to them, and they've got water for their project.
Is there a period of time they have to provide water for?
It's in perpetuity. So, and right now, the going rate with ABEC, I know, is the last time I heard, which was about a couple of years ago when they started the program, it was $10,000 an acre foot to find water. So they go and buy an acre foot of water for $10,000. That's their acre foot of water forever. And but that's just the way things are when there's not, when everybody's looking for that liquid gold, you know, that's why it's so important that we find water, you know, purchase carryover water and things like this to where we've got a reliable supply of water.
You know, along that line, and because water is such an issue, and I know that Laurel and I have touched on how that's really going to limit development in this whole area, or just certainly can. We probably ought to, in a future meeting, come up with a stated position on how we feel about solar parks. You know, and as just something that we can all discuss and agree on as a future agenda item.
Pass that part.
See how he is? Can I form a complaint against?
Okay, do I have anyone that wants to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn. Please, get me out of here.
Anyone second it?
I'll second it.
All righty.
I'll get in the minutes now.
All righty. Meeting is adjourned.